can't be discussed now. Mr. Pownell?
Point of clarification. My mind was going the same direction. Is there or will there be a point in time where this table, besides Robert's Rules of Order, can have some procedures that we can discuss that aren't necessarily covered in Robert's Rules of Order or the Municipal League's organization of doing business? For example, roll call votes, annotating ordinances with the yea and nay votes, things like that, as far as procedural things beyond Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, I'll have to check on it, Mr. DeVito.
Items should be put on the agenda.
Okay. You gonna make that a motion put on the agenda?
Make a motion
for next month?
We put procedural items on the next meeting agenda for the 14th of February.
Okay, motion's been made to put the adaptation of further procedural on the next meeting.
14th of February, if you're doing it first and third Thursdays.
Right.
Excuse me?
It won't be the 14th.
Be the 3rd of February.
It'd be 1st of February, wouldn't it? Our next meeting?
3rd.
Just next week.
Is 3rd, which is next
We were
week?
tabling everything to the 14th because that's the next meeting. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be February the 3rd is the next meeting.
I'll make February the 3rd then instead of the 14th.
Motion's been made to add these procedural amendments to the next meeting, February the 3rd. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on that part of it? Mr. DeVito?
That's all it requires, is that two council persons agree to a topic for the agenda.
Okay. So carried. Need a motion to discuss the floodplain ordinance, which is before you.
Can we skip one?
Oh, election of mayor pro tem.
Pro tem.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's been done in the past, so we'll just open the floor for nominations. Yes, sir.
I make a motion to open discussion on item 3, election of mayor pro tem, vice mayor.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded to open the floor for nominations. Mayor pro tem, Mr. DeVito.
I'd nominate Butch Berry. He's served as mayor pro tem in the past, and although it's an infrequent position, he's done it admirably, and I tender his nomination for vice mayor.
Can I make a second here?
You can make a nomination yourself, yes, ma'am.
I would second that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
It's come to my attention that there is some legislation underway in Little Rock having something to do with Mayor Pro Tem and all that entails. So I would move to postpone this discussion until our next meeting, particularly due to the fact that even if we don't have a Mayor Pro Tem for the whole term, if that situation comes up where our mayor is not available to join us, we could, per meeting, elect a Mayor Pro Tem for each meeting to last for just that meeting.
Well, it's already on the table. Mr. Berry's been nominated and there's been a second to it, so we need to act on that one. All in favor of Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
4 yeses and 3 no. I didn't hear you, Doc. What'd you- Yes? Okay. 4 for and 2 against. Motion carries. Mr. Berry is the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Before we move on, I think we're a little remiss in not having more discussion on that because there is a House bill that has already passed. The Arkansas Municipal League has gone on record that puts the city clerk or another official named by the mayor in charge if the mayor cannot do the job or is not available. And I think that was attempted to be brought up and got kind of railroaded down the, all due respect to Mr. Berry, if that were the case, there is no legislation that requires a year-long or permanent mayor pro tem, and I think we just kind of skipped over a bunch of what the legislature is doing.
Doing, not done. Mr. Believer?
There is a statutory requirement at the first meeting of the year that a pro tem be elected. And that is the law at the current state. So what you've just done is what's correct with the law. If the law changes and the governor signs the new bill after it's been passed by the Senate, then it would behoove the council to take that issue up at that time.
Reference.
Yes. It's been voted on.
Under the
4
duties
for
of
and 2
mayor.
against. So to discuss it any further is rather pointless. All right. Yes, sir.
We'll discuss floodplain ordinance.
Second.
Motion been made to discuss the floodplain ordinance. I need a second.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. All right. This is going to be. I've got Dwayne here to discuss this for just a minute. Give you a little briefing on it, and it's. I believe there is a emergency ordinance. No, not in this one. Okay. Go ahead. Tell us what's going on with this.
This is basically replacing the one that's in effect now. Was back in '87. They're coming up with a new floodplain map and a new rate study that's coming out. So we just kind of we have to change our ordinance and keep it up to date. So the only thing is they run it a couple of times. We had 2 90-day periods, public hearings, which we ran, which normally would have been one. After they put it in the Federal Register, they discovered there was some slight changes to the floodplain, but just minor. So that put us back into another 90-day period. So we have to have this thing in place by the 17th of March. So that's what we're with a missing meeting. It looks like we may, we could do a 1 vote and maybe 2 votes at the next one, or try to get this thing in, give us the 30-day published, and get it to FEMA, and we, shouldn't be any problems. It's basically just kind of minimum standards. We didn't really, we could add to that, but we're just kind of going off of required state and federal standards.
Any questions, discussion on that? Yes, sir.
Well, I have a question as far as what meeting, what notice did council have on this? This is a planning commission item. I mean, they've got it's right in their planning ordinance talking about flood damage, flood plains under 13.08, and this is, to me, if there's anything, we're getting put behind the 8 ball again by either the outgoing council or lack of the information being passed. That we now have a month and a half. It's all in our ballpark to pass this or not pass it when we already have several pages of this already in effect in the zoning and flood control ordinance that already exists, and this doesn't even address that we're changing the old one. It looks like a brand new one.
The old one will be, null and void. It won't be up to standard. So without the new one in place, they will suspend us from the program. And that's something maybe that at some point it should have went to planning. That call was made last time of not going that way. But we had some public hearings and ran it in the newspaper and kicked it around. We have the maps have been available for probably 4 months or better here at City Hall.
Hasn't been on the agenda for any meetings in December or January for action.
Well, we were kind of twisted around on our meeting dates on January for several reasons. If we don't get this taken care of, they're going to drop us like a hot potato, and we can't afford that. Mr. DeVito?
Am I overlooking the ordinance?
You should have had a copy.
Oh, that's the ordinance. Yike.
Well, no,
Yeah.
that's the
I thought that was the definitions.
it's look
The
back
ordinance
at the back
is
page.
5 pages.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Somewhere in here there should be an ordinance to the back page.
Any other discussion on? Okay, I'll let you catch up first. go ahead and read it into the record.
You need to give it a number.
You need a motion and
Gosh,
a
how come
number.
I can't find that?
Motion to give it a number and read
All
it.
right. Entertain a motion to give the
Oh,
ordinance
it's
a
in a
number so we
separate
can go ahead and
item,
read it in the record.
Yeah. No, it was in my
Motion been
box.
made to give the number. I need a second.
Make
Second.
a second.
Okay, Ms. Alexander, second.
Do you need a vote? to do
Vote
it?
on that one? On the,
Yep.
okay. Need a voice vote on the, giving a voice, or ordinance, so we can read it in the record. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right.
B, ordinance 2133.
All right. You ready to read? If you get tired, somebody will carry on for you. Thank you, Wayne.
Ordinance 2133, be it enacted by the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance providing for the establishment of a flood damage prevention program for Eureka Springs and for other purposes. Section 1, statutory authority. The legislature of the state of Arkansas has, in Arkansas Code annotated 14268-101 et sec., delegated the responsibility of local governmental units to adopt regulations to minimize flood losses. Therefore, the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas does hereby ordain as follows. Section 2, findings of fact. A, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has identified special flood hazard areas of Eureka Springs in the current scientific and engineering report entitled The Flood Insurance Study, FIS, for Carroll County, Arkansas, and incorporated areas, dated March 17, 2011, with an effective flood insurance rate map, firm, dated March 17, 2011. B, these special flood hazard areas are subject to periodic flooding events that result in loss of life and property, pose health and safety hazards, disrupt commerce and governmental services, and cause extraordinary public expenditures for flood protection and relief, all of which adversely affect the public health, safety, and general welfare. C, these periodic flooding events are exacerbated by the cumulative effect of floodplain developments, which cause an increase in flood heights and velocities, and by the placement of inadequately elevated, inadequately flood-proofed, and otherwise unprotected structures or uses vulnerable to floods into special flood hazard areas. Such structures or uses are inherently hazardous to other lands because of their adverse impact on flooding events. Section 3, statement of purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare, to prevent adverse impacts from any floodplain development activities, and to minimize public and private losses due to flooding events in identified special flood hazard areas. This ordinance advances the stated purpose through provisions designed to A, protect human life and health, B, protect natural floodplains against unwise development, C, eliminate adverse impacts of necessary floodplain development, D, minimize expenditure of public monies on floodplain control projects, E, minimize the need for rescue and relief efforts associated with flooding and generally undertaken at the expense of the general public. F, minimize prolonged business interruptions due to flooding events. G, minimize damage to public facilities and utilities, such as water and gas mains, electric and telephone and sewer lines, streets and bridges located in the special flood hazard areas. H, minimize future flood blight areas to help maintain a stable tax base. And I, provide forward notice to potential buyers when property is in a special flood hazard area. Section 4, lands to which this ordinance applies